advocate for his community. He's most noteworthy for being the first person ever to rappel 30 stories in a wheelchair in Calgary's Easter Seals Drop. Super, super impressive. His personality and resiliency is an absolute inspiration to those around him and showcases that really, truly anything is possible. Even being able to accomplish such feats does not come without its challenges, of course. An advocate for anti-racism, here to speak to us today about his journey, ladies and gentlemen, Dominic Shaw.
Oops, off to a great start, eh? So I'm Dominic. Let's see, I guess I'm on the day 15 of my Microsoft Office trial, so I'll try to speed this up. Humor is my vice. A lot of people think I'm a little offset or crazy, but humor keeps me sane. I've had a very interesting life. I really wouldn't change any of it, and I'd like to tell you a bit about it. And I do want to thank the last speaker that was up. I've heard a lot of opinions, a lot of experiences from the other speakers, but I haven't heard a lot of solutions. And the last speaker, bless her heart, offered some, and I'd like to share some of those as I continue on. So today I'd like to talk about racism. See, for me, racism, it started before I was even born. My mother was English from Scotland, and my father was Jamaican. And the decision in 1971, yeah, I'm not old, was already made for me to be put up for adoption. Because back then, having a mixed baby was a big no-no. Along with that, and somebody reminded me this of the other day, I gave up my name, my birth name, because when I was adopted, it was changed to what my family wanted it to be, Dominic. My original name was Mark Gallagher, and not until I was about 15 that was told to me. My parents gave me a letter and says, well, obviously, my parents are white, obviously you're black, you're obviously gonna wonder where you came from, so here's a letter. The letter was from the orphanage, and it basically said, these are the reasons that my mother gave me up, this was her name, this is where she was born, and that's the only information that I had. So before I even had a choice, a voice, an anger to fight for what's right in the world, I didn't even get a chance to touch somebody of my own blood. I've never had that opportunity. I don't know how many people have brothers or sisters, aunts, uncles, mothers, grandmothers. We hug all the time. I've never, and I want you to think about this, I've never touched, apart from being spat out my mom's womb, I've never touched somebody of my own blood. Mentally, what does that do to a person? I'm not sure, I'm still discovering. And leads me into my next example. One of the things I discovered, and this is in the middle of COVID, somebody pointed out to me on Twitter, and they said, hey Dom, I want you to have a look at this. And it was Alberta Health had made a mental support helpline, we'll call it. And I clicked the link and went, what? And then I went, are you kidding me? The helpline was called The Big White Wall. Well, that website, it lasted about 4 hours after I heard of it. Because I thought to myself, if I needed, mental health support, Fortunately, I haven't as of yet, but it's not over yet. How would I react if I'm like, okay, I need some help. I'm gonna be true to myself. I'm gonna get some help. Go on the internet and I see the big white wall. Now we're not allowed to swear in here, I believe, so I'm not gonna. But that was my reaction. So I called, and it was just before lunch, and nice receptionist answered, and I said, okay, so I need to talk to somebody about the name. I find it highly offensive. And they said, well, what do you mean? I said, as a person of color, can you not understand what I'm seeing here? And she said, no, I think you're reading too much in it. And I said, are you a person of color? And she went, no, I'm white. And I said, I can't talk to you anymore. She said, well, why not? I said, you're not listening to me. She's like, oh, I'm listening, dear. And I couldn't believe her attitude, the pushback that I was getting. And so I said, okay, you know what? Two can play this game, dear. So I said, you know what? I need to talk to the director of this whole organization. I want the top person. And she said, well, no, it's not going to happen. I said, well, I need it to happen. And she said, well, you know, the person in charge that I can let you talk to is on lunch, so you're going to have to call back. I said, no, I'm not calling back. She's like, well, I can't get her. I said, I'm not calling back because you know what? This conversation may have put me in distress, or it may not have. And I'm worried about my safety, so you may want to run across the street and get her. And that's what they did. So sometimes you do have to play dirty. I am terribly guilty of it. Thank you. I did want to come here today and talk, about a normal speech that I've given, but I learned that my strength is just speaking from the heart. There's a lot going on in Calgary, in Alberta, in Canada, but I have to focus on Calgary because, that's close to what's going to affect me. And we don't need to get into the details about it, but we have to start standing up better for each other. We have to start changing, the rhetoric. We have to start challenging and fighting back with the media. And I'll give you one example. We all know what happened with Ottawa. We can't go out and say, hey, everybody's racist there. But they sure as heck didn't chase them away when they were shining their colors. But we need to know, we need to look at an example. I spent a lot of time growing up in Toronto, and I think Toronto was a real home to me. All my friends were of different races, and it always was like, you grow up as a teenager and you don't get good jobs. You work at McDonald's or Arby's or Burger King, whatever. I've done them all. But it was our white friend, Chuck. We call him the trucker now, by the way, just to tease him. But he always got the job first, and then we always followed. It's like he opened the door for us people of color. When the convoy went to Toronto, or started to go, it was really unsuccessful. And nobody talks about why it wasn't unsuccessful. To me, it was plain right in front of me. Toronto was a very, very multicultural city. And when they saw it coming, they blocked the highways, they put out the OPP. It was like, nope, turn that truck around. We're not having any of it. And that's what happened there. And we need to take a lesson from that. And, people, when they talk about racism and that in the past, they're always being, well, you know what, you need to be a person of power, rise to a person of power. I don't believe that. You need to rise to a person of influence. It's not about the power you have, It's about the influence that you have on other people. Are they going to listen to you? I'm here today because I was very angry almost 2 years ago, and over some health cuts, which affected me, which has affected my friends. And the bottom line, it basically meant that every time that I need to pee, I'm literally gonna have to pay, I think it was 65 cents out of my own pocket. And I went, this is completely unfair. I'm on a very limited income. I can only work so many hours a day before my body says, hey, sit the heck down. And I called, after 2 calls I got through, and it was the minister. And though we may disagree on many topics and issues, we still have enough respect to communicate with each other. And I do want to thank you for that. And I do want to use this as an example of we all have a voice. Why am I here? Nothing against you guys, but a lot of other people aren't here. They have better jobs, they have nicer clothes, bigger house. They ain't got a worry in the world. Why am I here speaking, even standing up for them? We need to start questioning our friends and neighbors and saying, what are you doing? Are you able to go to sleep at night and saying, I think I changed the world a bit, even if it's their world? We often, forget that our community is our home. And when I say we need to rise to position of influence, how can we do that? We can get involved in our community. We can get involved there's a lot of councils out there looking for people. Police Advisory Council, Anti-Racism Council. And I'll give you an example of what I've discovered the last couple days, looking into, the police in Calgary. They used to, they still have a anti-racist division in that. But they used to actually track the stats on the different white supremacist groups or anti-Muslim groups. They no longer do that. So slowly it's fading away. And though this is my only my opinion, recently, 2 days ago, there was something else that happened in Edmonton, where an innocent bystander in their apartment was killed because the police were in a gun battle with apparent liquor store robbery. But if you look at the police, when they did the press release from it, if you look at the way that he spoke to the cameras and the citizens, and you compare it to the way that the police chief of Calgary spoke, and the police chief of Calgary had many hours to prepare. The one in Edmonton only had, I think it was 30 minutes, they called it a rush. There's a drastic difference between empathy and compassion and just being generally human. And I'm not here to educate people. I'm here to give my story, my experiences, so you can educate yourself. So, with that, that's really all I have to say today. We can make a difference. We can make a difference. We will make a difference. But we need to stop talking so much about the past. We need to talk about the present, and we need to talk about solutions. Viable solutions that everybody can get involved with. When an engineer makes a tower, and he makes a mistake in it, and they say, hey, that needs to be fixed, the engineer doesn't go and say, oh, I'm going to correct it myself. He gets the architect involved. He gets the safety coordinator. He gets everybody at the table. And then it's corrected. Because he knows he cannot afford to make that mistake again. But often, these mistakes, when it comes to racism, in Calgary, in Alberta, in Canada, they're constantly made over and over again because we're not at the table. So get yourself at the table, people. Thank you.